With Election Day in full swing, Eagle Media is working hard to bring you the latest coverage on the presidential race. But before we start reporting on the results, we wanted to break down how they're even called in the first place. Later today, states will begin to report their voting results after the polls close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, with the exception of Hawaii and Alaska, which will continue to collect ballots until 12 a.m. In order to win the presidential seat, a candidate needs to secure 270 Electoral College votes out of the 538 at stake. The first to 270 wins. Out of the 46 presidents throughout United States history, only 5 have won without the popular vote, the most recent being former President Donald Trump, the current Republican candidate. When determining how to assign electoral votes, most states use the winner-takes-all system. That means that the candidate who gains the most votes will receive the total number of electoral votes available in that state. However, states like Maine and Nebraska use a proportional system where electoral votes are split between congressional districts. These states allocate 2 electoral votes to the state's popular vote winner, and then 1 electoral vote to the popular vote winner in each congressional district. This creates multiple popular vote contests in these states, which could lead to a split electoral vote. While these results will be coming in live, don't be surprised if we may not know the official outcome until days after the election. For more updates on Election Day results, make sure to tune into eaglenews.org. In this year's election, there are 8 states that will be crucial in determining the next president. The race in Pennsylvania has become closer than any other swing state contest headed into the election. Pennsylvania holds 19 electoral votes, the most out of any of the swing states. The Keystone State went blue in the 2020 presidential election, but flipped red in 2016. Michigan and Wisconsin have followed a similar pattern. All 3 states have voted for the same presidential candidate since the 1992 election. For example, they both voted for President Joe Biden in 2020 and former President Donald Trump in 2016. Michigan holds 15 electoral votes to Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes. If you see one state called early, the rest are likely to follow. This trio of states will likely be the deciding factor of who will be our president. Georgia and Arizona voted red in 2016 and blue in 2020. Georgia carries 16 electoral votes. Outside of 2020, the state has voted for the Republican candidate since 1996. A similar pattern is seen in Arizona, which has 11 electoral votes. Besides 1996 and 2020, they have voted red since 1952. The question is if the state will revert back to its roots. Nevada and North Carolina have voted for the same party over the last 2 elections. Nevada has voted blue since the start of the Obama administration. Many analysts have predicted that the state's 6 electoral votes will be key in tonight's election. North Carolina has remained red since 1980, with the exception of 2008. That year, the state went blue. Its 16 electoral votes makes it the state with the second most votes out of all the swing states. Until recently, Iowa has not been watched closely. 2 days ago, independent pollster J. Ann Selzer said Vice President Kamala Harris could surpass Trump in the state. The poll showed that Harris is within the 3.4% margin of error, meaning that the state's 6 electoral votes could go to the Democratic candidate. However, experts have said that winning this state will be crucial for Donald Trump if he wants to stay in the race. According to analysts, the 99 electoral votes shared between all of these states will decide the next president of the United States. While these results will be coming in live, don't be surprised if we may not know the official outcome until days after the election. In the state of Florida, there are 6 amendments on the ballot. 2 of those, however, have garnered a lot of attention for their controversial nature. Throughout Election Day, Eagle Media will be keeping a close eye on Amendments 3 and 4. Let's start by taking a look at Florida's Amendment 3. The measure discusses the legalization of recreational marijuana. The amendment would allow adults 21 and older to possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana for non-medical personal consumption. It would also allow medical marijuana treatment centers and other state-licensed entities to sell and distribute recreational marijuana products and accessories. Currently, non-medical possession and use of marijuana is illegal under state and federal law. Violators of that law are subject to criminal prosecution depending on the amount of marijuana they possess or use. If the amendment passes, Florida would join the 24 other states that have already legalized recreational marijuana. If the amendment does not pass, Florida will retain the current marijuana law for the state, which allows for the consumption and sale of marijuana for medical purposes only. Now let's take a look at Amendment 4. Amendment 4 discusses the right to an abortion. Following the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022, the Florida legislature passed a bill that created a ban on most abortions after 15 weeks. A year later, the state of Florida banned abortion procedures after 6 weeks of pregnancy, except in cases of rape, incest, or threats to the life of the mother. This 6-week ban is currently what we're operating under. Amendment 4 proposes that the government cannot interfere with a woman's decision to have an abortion up to viability, which is around 23 to 24 weeks. If the measure passes, the amendment would prevent any law from restricting abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health, as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. If the amendment does not pass, Florida's current 6-week abortion ban will remain in place. All amendments require a 60% voting majority to pass. For more updates on Election Day results, make sure to tune into eaglenews.org.